I'm definitely not here as an expert. Jen, you are the expert. We want to hear and learn from you. I'm just here to try to understand and maybe give the male perspective on all the craziness that goes on through these times of menopause.
Yes. You're not here under duress, are you, John? I didn't force you here.
Yes and no.
He's like a semi-hostile witness in the legal world. Yeah. But you know what? You're welcome to be here, John. And I, for one, am glad you are here.
I have been so convicted throughout this series, and I am making a declaration publicly here and now that I am no longer counting calories. Never again. Welcome to the Paula Ferris Show. I am your host, Paula, and in just a moment, we will be joined by my husband, John, as well as Dr. Jen Ashton, the former Chief Medical Correspondent at ABC News. We're dear friends dating back to my time at ABC News. We are wrapping up this series on perimenopause and menopause and why we don't feel like ourselves and how we can get the support and the help that we not only need, but the support and help that we deserve. So if you're watching on YouTube, hi, you're probably like, she didn't really dress up for this. I didn't. I just finished a workout and I wanted to keep it real with you guys. I am wearing a weighted vest. I'm going to explain why in just a second, but the majority of the questions that you all have had about perimenopause and menopause in this time in our life are surrounding nutrition and exercise. Just for example, Sarah, Tara, Cheryl, and Kim say, how can we control the weight gain? Why do I just keep slowly gaining weight for no reason when nothing has changed? Well, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The New Menopause, which, by the way, giving away 5 copies of this book. Again, giving away 5 copies of this book if you are signed up for my personal newsletter. Dr. Haver validated that this happens. We can literally do the same exact thing that we did in our 20s and 30s and even our early 40s, and we'll start to see these changes. We'll start to notice compositional and physiological changes because our bodies are changing. We can blame it on our hormones, despite what society and maybe some of those trainers out there will tell us. Dr. Haver says the pursuit of skinny is killing us. And we need to be strong. As she says, we need to be ass kickers and we need to stop counting calories. That's a big reason why I am selling off my clothes from television news. I mentioned in last week's episode, and if you follow me on socials, I'm doing a closet sale. I'm saying goodbye to these beautiful clothes that I wore at Good Morning America and The View, clothes that just don't fit my body and my lifestyle because I don't want to go back. I want to move forwards. So I'm going to link in the show notes if you want to check out my closet, my wardrobe. These clothes are gorgeous, all right? And you're going to get them at a fraction of the cost, and we're doing some good in the process as a portion of my proceeds will go to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, but I'll make sure to put that in my show notes. The Saved collection is doing a great job, and really I feel like a weight has been lifted off of my chest, even though I'm wearing this weighted vest. Speaking of the weighted vest, we have to work out a little bit differently. We need to start building bone muscle and bone density and muscle mass. The nutrition, the exercise, we need to be in training for this time in our lives. And I encourage you to stick around to the very end of the conversation. I'm going to give you my pinpoint, my key takeaways, and tell you how this is multifaceted. It's not just one thing. It's not a magic bullet. It's not a magic pill. I wish it were, but I'm going to share with you all the things that I'm doing to really embrace this strong over skinny pursuit and embrace this time in my life, things that I hope can really help you as you're on your own journey. And I don't know about you, but anyone else have a friend group and all you talk about is whether or not you met your protein goals for the day? That's me and my friends at this time in life. How much protein did you get? But without further ado, my husband, John, on being a supportive partner, how important it is to have a partner that understands what's going on in our lives at this point and how we can invite them into the process, as well as Dr. Jen Ashton, the former Chief Medical Correspondent at ABC News, a dear friend of mine and the founder of Ajenda. Here you go. Dr. Jen, it has been years since we've really connected. So much has happened in your own life. You have a new venture. You left ABC News. John and I can't wait to really jump in. But tell us what's new. You have a new company, CEO and founder of Ajenda.
Yep. And well, first of all, I miss you so much.
I miss you so much.
And thank goodness for social media where I can see you and send love to you all the way down in South Carolina from New York or Los Angeles or wherever the heck I am. And I got married almost 2 years ago. So there's that. But yeah, I have a new venture called Ajenda, which was in the works for a long time. But you and I know when you're on the air every single day at ABC News, bandwidth, kind of
Yes.
is not in big supply. And so I finally got to the point where I wanted to devote all of my bandwidth to Ajenda, which is a multimedia company really focused on weight management and nutrition and women's health. I really get to focus on what my board certifications are in, which is OBGYN, obesity medicine, and nutrition. And I'm super excited about that.
John, I don't know if you have seen Dr. Jen's magazine. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding up a screen grab because we're official. I don't have a graphics department. This is a photo of me with Dr. Jen's magazine. I saw it in Publix not too long ago, and I sent her a screen grab of it. And it says your menopause manual. Like, this is your new thing. And I love seeing you pop up at CVS Pharmacy and the grocery store in the magazine rack. Like, you're doing great work. And Jen, you and I used to talk about this all the time at ABC. So John and I are super thrilled to reconnect with you. And John's here for some laughs. Also, I kind of had to drag him here, but I really think it's important for our partners to understand what's going on in our bodies, to understand what's happening to us at this time of life and how they can be supportive partners, because I think it's only going to better the relationship. So John, are you here?
I'm definitely not here as an expert. Jen, you are the expert. We want to hear and learn from you. I'm just here to try to understand and maybe give the male perspective on all the craziness that goes on through these times of menopause.
Yes. You're not here under duress, are you, John? I didn't force you here.
Yes and no.
He's like a semi-hostile witness in the legal world. Yeah. But you know what? You're welcome to be here, John. And for one, I'm glad you are here.
Yes.
Oh, great.
We're going to deep dive into nutrition and exercise during our 30s, 40s, and 50s, 60s, this perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal period, which I would say the majority of the questions that we've had in this series are regarding nutrition and exercise. Now, John and I have been wearing weighted vests. Like, John's actually a really good partner in the sense of, like, he's already taking good care of himself and he holds me accountable too. And we like to say, like, my friends and I, and John will continually say this, like, Paul, I'm not going to kick you out of bed. Like,
never.
As much as what's going on with us, Jen, and how we're feeling, like, we may feel, oh my gosh, I put on 10, 20, 30 pounds. Like, they're not kicking us out of bed. They you don't really care, do you, John? I mean, tell us what guys are thinking right now.
Oh my goodness, you really want to know what guys are thinking? That's a scary rabbit hole to go down. But no, I love you, Paul. No matter what, you've maybe had some different seasons of your life where you felt more healthy, less healthy. But like you said before, you're never going to get kicked out of bed.
Bravo. Done. We're done. This is a really great conversation. Okay, Jen, thanks for joining. But let's start, Jen.
But by the way,
yes,
obviously, I mean, yes, it's nice to hear John articulate that, but look, that the reality is, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever stage of your life, of course it should be not about what the person looks like, right?
Absolutely.
When my mom got divorced when she was 50, she would look at all kinds of people on the street and be like, old, wrinkled, overweight, obese, not overweight. And she'd be like, that person has a husband. That person has someone who loves her. And she would say it in kind of a funny way, but self-deprecating, because she was like, why am I single and that person has? And the answer is because that's not what draws people together, right? I mean, we like to, perseverate and obsess about our physical appearance, but all you have to do is look at any couples that we all know and be like,
Yeah.
obviously it's not about appearance and it shouldn't be. I mean, that's the good thing. That's the good news for all of us, is that it really shouldn't be. But yes, as John said, I think the bar to quote unquote kick someone out of bed when you're a man is pretty low.
I love you for so many reasons, Paula, not just your beauty.
Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's dive in with nutrition and exercise, what we should be eating and what we should be doing to move our bodies specifically.
Yeah.
And, we're just coming off a couple of conversations with Dr. Haver, and I love what she said, that we want to be ass kickers. She said, be ass kickers. She says, skinny is killing us. I want you to be strong. But before we dive into like the what we should do, tell us a little bit about physiologically, Jen, our bodies are changing. I remember a CrossFit instructor told me that menopause weight gain was all in my head. Like it's a farce. It's just because we're not moving our body. And like literally, can you just tell us it's not in our head? There are things going on in our body. What is happening to us? Why are our bodies changing? And what would you like to tell that person that said it's all in your head and shaming us for weight gain? Don't blame your hormones.
I'm going to shame that person right back and say when they have a few more initials after their name, that gives them the qualifications and the credentials to opine on something that is science-based and not opinion. They should let you know. Until then, they should stay in their lane and zip it. And by the way, that extends potentially to even doctors who claim that because they have an MD after their name, that they're exercise physiologists. There are people who have PhDs in exercise physiology. That means 7 to 8 years of, extensive study and research in exercise physiology. That's not part of medical school. Now, I'm not suggesting that you can't self-educate, because of course you can. And that's really, really important. But those degrees, those credentials exist for a reason, right? So, just like I wouldn't deem to tell a certified athletic trainer how to help an elite athlete or a weekend warrior recover from something, similarly, trainers should not be telling women who are peri, post, or actually in the throes of menopause that it's, quote, all in their head. Okay, so that's like the first thing. So now that I've gotten that off my chest,
yes,
let's
blame the hormones right here. Let's blame it all on the hormones. It is not in our head, ladies and gentlemen, John. So
correct. But listen, it's also not as simple as estrogen level goes down, you're perimenopausal, and that's the whole answer. It's multifactorial, it's complex, it's nuanced. There's a big spectrum for individual differences here. But in general, and John, I hope you're listening to this, because this is gonna get your attention. Basically, at the age of 40 for men and women, lean muscle mass starts to decline to the tune of about 1% per year. Okay. That's why you start to see the dad bod in 40-plus-year-old men. Okay. And they still have testosterone, but it's starting to drop. Now, with women, we also have testosterone. That starts to drop. Perimenopause, as you probably have heard, can start as early as a mid-30s for some women. So it's multifactorial. Testosterone level drops because half of a woman's testosterone actually is made in the ovaries, right? So that means you have less lean muscle mass. As your estrogen levels also start to drop, you get redistribution of your body fat, because body fat, peripheral body fat, is an additional source of estrogen. So your body, being the brilliant machine that it is, says, hold on, your ovaries are making less estrogen. I've got an answer for that. I'm going to start storing body fat in the midsection, which is the worst place for it to exist.
Ever.
Correct. And that body fat is going to start getting to work, and it's going to start picking up the slack, and generating some estrogen. And then there's personal responsibility, right? We're moving less. That's just the reality. Like, look what we're all doing right now. We're sitting. So your movement goes down, your sleep quality goes down, and your quantity goes down, because this is a time in a woman's life where her kids, her career, everything is putting more
Yes.
demands on. And then, of course, you have the SAD, the Standard American Diet, or SAD, which is horrendous for our body weight and our body composition. And it literally is a perfect storm. And then let's not forget also obesogenic medications, which are way under conceptualized as a culprit in midlife weight gain. That is a known, very long list of medications that are conclusively known to result in weight gain. That doesn't mean we don't take them, because in some cases, hopefully in many cases, they're needed. But those are medications that, as you get into your 40s, millions and millions of women are on. And they range from antihistamines to blood pressure medications to other types of hormones to antidepressants. You name it, they're on the list. And
I'm on three of those. Three of those that you just
yeah, there you go.
said, yes.
So when you put all of those things together, and you load on top of that the fact that a lot of women in their 40s and 50s mentally are still hooked on that exercise mindset of it's cardio, it's cardio, it's cardio, it's cardio. I want to be thin. I want to be like, that was fine then.
Yeah.
That's not fine now. And I think that the way that I encourage my patients and my viewers and my followers to think about this is, when you were in your 20s or 30s and thinking of getting pregnant or having babies, if you did, your body needed something then specific for that time.
Right.
This is a different time, and your body needs something different. So, as we've been hearing, and I think this is great that this message is finally getting out by a lot of doctors who have big, good platforms. It's a different time. We need to do different things.
Okay.
Period.
Right. Okay. So what do we do differently? Let's start with the nutrition and the weight gain, since that seems to be the source of the largest frustration amongst women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s. I know Sarah and Tara and Cheryl and Kim and me, like, these are our biggest questions. Like, how do we control the weight gain? Why do I just keep slowly gaining weight for no reason when literally nothing has changed? And yes, you just explained a little bit about that. We're losing our muscle mass and we're getting that belly. So can you answer that question? How do we control the weight gain when it is true? Like, we can gain weight and nothing else has changed.
Correct. So the biggest thing, and you hear a lot of this, is very buzzy, right? Like this diet, that diet. I want to be crystal clear. When I got my master's in nutrition, which was a 3-year Columbia University program, okay,
amazing, Jen.
which had to, I think, and you remember when I started doing that.
I remember when you were going to school for this.
That's right.
You were doing, you're practicing OB-GYN. You were the chief medical correspondent at ABC, 2 kids, like just juggling so much, and you're going to school for this. Right. So bravo to you.
On the weekends. And then let me tell you, it was torture, and culminated with a 100-page master's thesis of independent research that I had to do. What I learned then, which was shocking to me, and it just goes to show you how, you could take a course in nutrition, or you could just read some articles and educate yourself, which is all amazing. But doctors learn zero nutrition in medical school. Okay. And there's a big difference between like reading some articles and taking a course that gives you a certificate, which again is better than nothing, and getting a PhD or a master's of science in the field, right? There's a very, very big difference. And what I learned is that, first of all, we need a lot more research in nutrition, in the field of nutritional science, because it's under research. It is difficult to study by definition of its intrinsic nature. Like, it's hard to control variables when you talk about diet and food intake in the same way that we do with medication. It's much easier with medication and drugs to study that with rigorous methodology. But when you talk about diet and nutrition in this period of life. The issue is, as I said, with weight gain, multifactorial. It comes down to the fact that we have to strategize the fact that our lean muscle mass is dropping quickly and our fat mass is increasing due to all the reasons we just said. And the dietary or nutritional approach to that can be and has been shown to be in some studies, many studies, as rigorous as they can be, incredibly important. And what it comes down to is, and I'm just going to get right to the bottom line, protein, and not just any protein, but there's a formula which we'll go into, and I'll post it and send it to you so that you can
Please
post it
do.
for your listeners.
Thank
But
you.
it's 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Okay. So you do that math, you take your body weight, you divide by 2.2.
Okay.
That gives you your weight in kilograms. And then you multiply that by 1.5. Okay.
So I divide my weight by 2.2 and then I multiply that by 1.5.
Correct. That's the amount of grams of protein you should strive for over a day. Now, here's where it gets nuanced, and few people talk about this. So for me, that I try to get 80 grams of protein a day.
Okay.
Okay. That's very hard. Why is it hard? Because you have to eat a lot. You may have to eat when you're not hungry, and you really have to either measure or read labels and make sure you're getting 80 grams. It's not,
Yes.
an egg has 6 to 7 grams of protein. So it's not like you're going to have 12 eggs and be like, okay, I'm good. So it's actually hard to do that, right? You also have to spread that out throughout the day. And according to the literature, the magic number per meal to increase protein muscle synthesis is 30 grams.
Wow.
30
Okay.
grams per meal.
Per meal.
Okay.
All right?
So, yep, I got that.
I just did that math for myself. I have to eat 133 grams of protein.
It's a
every day.
lot.
That's a lot.
I have to eat 110. I
Yeah.
weigh 160 now, which is more than I've ever weighed, but I do think I have more muscle and I'm fine. I don't care about the number
Yeah.
so much.
So
Okay.
the point is how do you do that? Now think of this like you would think of your finances. Okay. Like you look at what you have and then you start dividing it up, right? Like maybe you divide it up to an emergency fund, you divide it up into stocks, maybe real estate, maybe bonds, whatever. I'm not a financial analyst, obviously, but
College, because I have 3 kids
College,
that may or may not go to college.
whatever. But think of it the same way. Okay. So you have your numbers, what you just calculated, right? And then you start being strategic. And I want to get to one other thing, which is really important. Before I get to how you do it, there's an amino acid that's called an essential amino acid called leucine. Leucine, of all 20 amino acids, is hands down evidence-based the single most important amino acid for stimulating what's called MPS, muscle protein synthesis. All right. Without leucine, you're not building muscle.
Okay.
Leucine is essential because your body doesn't make it. So we have to ingest it. All right. Whey protein is it's the most easily digestible protein, and it's the most abundant in leucine. Okay. You can get leucine from plant-based sources, but it's hard. Okay. Harder.
How do you spell leucine, by the way?
Leucine. Okay.
Okay.
So all of the literature, especially the current literature in the last 4 to 5 years, focuses on the role of leucine in preventing the loss of muscle mass that we all get with aging, which is called sarcopenia. That's particularly important for men and women over the age of 65. Okay. So when we talk about frailty of old age, it largely is this vicious cycle of inflammation and breakdown of muscle mass, which is called catabolism. And leucine counteracts that. Okay. So when you think about how much protein you're getting, and it's not just protein, and how much. It's when and what kind. Now,
Okay, that's good.
yeah, so plant-based sources are generally healthier for your overall body, for your brain, for your heart, for the environment, probably for your bank account because it's less expensive than beef. But you just have to be smart and read labels and look into whether or not that plant-based source contains leucine. I personally will tell you that I more practice moderation. I don't eat red meat. I rarely even eat white meat. I try to eat fish almost every day in some sort. I do eat eggs, which I didn't for a while, but then all my hair broke off and I was like, oh, not getting enough protein. So, it's really about moderation, but you have to read labels. And if you're eating anything that comes out of a package, which you should try to minimize because all processed foods are not great for you.
Right.
That is a fact. Of course, it's a reality that we need to eat processed foods because convenience, logistics, whatever, but try to minimize it. When you turn that bag or package around and look at the ingredients, personally, as a nutritionist, as a doctor, I look at two numbers, added sugar and protein.
Okay.
So you want to keep the added sugar as low as possible because for women, it's a max of 25 grams of added sugar a day. For men, it's 36 maximum.
Max? Wow. Okay.
Okay. And so to close the loop on this, whether you're a man with dad bod or a woman in perimenopause or postmenopause, protein is essential and it will keep you full longer. So you won't be like starving to reach for some crappy food choice of empty carbs. But most importantly, it will fuel your muscle protein synthesis to keep you fit and strong and healthy.
Awesome.
Jen, you said something very interesting. Most general practitioners, they don't have any studies in nutrition. Why do you think that is? And typically they're just prescribing drugs to offset weight gain or issues. Is there a reason why that's not? Is that tied to the drug companies because there's so much money there?
I think it's a couple of things, and I really always give people the benefit of the doubt because as Paula knows, I'm really a glasses half full type of person.
I appreciate that about you too, Jen. I do.
You. Thank you. I think the reason for it is that in medical school, if you're a doctor in your 40s or 50s, or potentially even late 30s, there was no teaching of nutrition in medical school. The lecture we got was how to feed a critically ill hospitalized patient. That was our nutrition lecture.
Whoa.
Okay. Through a tube, by the way, not with real food. It was like, how do you adjust for the nutritional requirements in a critically ill patient who can't eat orally via their mouth? Okay. So one, they're not informed. Two, they're not educated. Two, because they're in practice, whether that's in a private practice or a medical center, hospital setting, they don't have time.
Yes.
As we said, it took me 3 years to get my master's in nutrition, and it was not cheap. And I did it because I wanted to for my career, but I also did it because my marriage was ending and I was like, well, I don't really have a reason to be at home, so I might as well go to school every weekend and do something productive. Most people don't have that situation. So, it's a logistical, it's a way that doctors are educated. And, you mentioned drug companies, and I want to be very clear. There are 6 or 7 FDA-approved weight loss medications. I believe in them and I use them. I prescribe them, and I have for 10 years for patients who need to lose a significant amount of weight, meaning 30 plus pounds, and have a history of trying to lose weight without success, which, by the way, is 85 to 90% of all people. Okay. So I think there is a very significant role for those FDA approved medications. But the key is ideally prevention of weight gain before you get to that point. Yeah. And it's also not either or. If I have someone who needs to lose 30, 50 or more pounds, guess what? I'm going to fill the boat and have them do everything. It's not one thing or another, because I want them to get to a healthier place and feel better as quickly as possible. Not like, let me torture you with a year of this so that you can feel badly about yourself. And then we wouldn't do that. Look at the parallel. Would you say that if you were talking about depression or anxiety? No. I would say, guess what? I want you to go to a therapist, and I think you might need medication. It's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
Jen, so we tackled nutrition. Let's talk about exercise and how we move our bodies differently. And one thing I've always appreciated about you have 2 kids, but your daughter Chloe is a D1 women's hockey player. She was strong. And I remember you'd come into the GMA dressing room, you'd be like, Paula, look at how strong she is. Like, you would just brag on her. And she was not skinny. She was strong. She's 150, 160 pounds of pure muscle. You love strong, not skinny.
Correct.
And
And
you always have. And so talk to us about strong versus skinny and how we need to be moving our bodies, what we need to be doing specifically at this point in our lives.
So I would say that when you talk about perimenopause, and let's just arbitrarily, draw that line in the sand at age 35 for a woman. So any woman over the age of 35, including women who are solidly postmenopausal or in menopause, meaning over the age of even 60. Okay. The goal for me, partially inspired, and it's hard to tell which came first, the chicken or the egg. I was an average athlete when I was in high school. My daughter was an elite athlete, obviously, but genetics aside, as you said, and it means so much to me that you remember that. My goal for myself and my daughter and my patients and my friends and my family has always been strength over aesthetics. I believe that when you're strong, the aesthetics will come.
True.
And if you're strong, fit, and healthy,
it's good.
You're gonna look good. So you don't have to worry about that. That will take care of itself. I think in watching my daughter's progression as an elite athlete from the age of 5, 7, 9 years of age through college, now she's 24.
I can't believe Chloe's graduated, starting law school. My mind is blown.
Sorry. I know. Wait, in 4 to 5 years, I guarantee you she's going to have her own baby, and then you and I are really going to lose our minds. And by the way, now she's settled at her non-elite Division I weight, as she's around 131 pounds. Mm-hmm. She is still the strongest woman I know. And it's because she trains for power and fitness, not aesthetics. Think about exercise along those lines, and you think to yourself, okay, I've had my babies. I'm now in training for menopause. I remember before you had your third, I said to you, a woman who's not finished having babies should always train for pregnancy. Because remember my saying, pregnancy is an athletic event. You should train for it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, so is menopause. And so the sooner you're done having babies and start training for menopause, the better your menopausal transition will be. And I would say the same thing for the male partners and spouses out there. Why wait for the dad bod when you know it's coming? There's physiology behind it. Start training for it. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's not because women have a problem with a male belly, because clearly we don't.
We don't. It's like you can have a dad bod and that's hot. But I mean, there's
Paul,
no
you don't
no
have
such
to
thing.
worry about that with me. You're fine there.
I actually tell John, I'm like, dude, dial it back a little bit. Make me feel better about myself, because he's so dedicated and disciplined. I'm like, I like a little dough. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's hot.
Nobody says a mom bod is hot. Right? Like, there's such a double standard.
Right. That's true. But anyway, so when you talk about exercise, the bottom line for women, especially perimenopausal, especially women 50 and over, 60 and over, is you have to lift weights and you have to lift heavy weights.
Okay.
Okay. That is the bottom line. It's no more of this, 20 million reps at lightweight. No. That is not going to change how you look, and it's not going to change how strong you are, because you need time under tension on the muscle to stimulate MPS, muscle protein synthesis. It's harder as we get older, and so it requires more. The good news is you can still achieve that, but it takes more. It takes more protein and it takes heavier weight. People think of exercise and they think one track, one lane. It's not like that. We need yoga. We need strength. We need flexibility. We need balance. We need endurance cardio and we need HIIT cardio. Like, it's everything. It's not one thing. And that's what can make it really daunting for people who really freaking hate to exercise.
Yeah.
Like, I am not the norm. For me, it is my main source of stress relief, and it always has been, always. But most people hate it. And you know what I say to those people? Do you love brushing your teeth? No, but you do it.
I kind of like brushing my teeth. I actually love it. I'm weird. But I don't love exercise.
But guess what? You still brush your teeth in the morning, right? And at night. So like, if you think of exercise, like, this is a non-negotiable part of my day. It has to get done. Just like if I didn't brush my teeth, not only would I have bad breath, but I would have some major dental disease.
Right.
Same thing with exercise. You wouldn't look good and you wouldn't feel good.
Yeah.
So, and you would encourage somebody, if they're trying to be active 4 or 5 days a week, heavy weights once or twice, a yoga, a flexibility, maybe some aerobic activity, just like mix it up throughout the week?
I think mix it up. First of all, I subscribe to the 6 days a week, 1 day of rest. At the end of the day, and I've been saying this for over 12 years, literally since my first book came out, your body needs 3 things every day. It needs fuel, it needs rest, and it needs movement. That's the trifecta of good health. And if one of those things is not there, you will feel or see the consequences of it. It's one is not more important than the other. They are all critical. So when you talk about how you divide up your week, John, which is a really important question and strategy.
Right. Great question.
It should be mentally stimulating, because if you get bored, you're dead in the water. So like, it's nice to have a plan, but as long as it's different and fun and challenging for you, it works. I would encourage people not to look at it so singularly, like, today is my yoga day, because guess what? Yoga can be cardio. Yoga can be balance. Yoga can be strength. Yoga can be flexibility. So don't look at it like, which one of these things necessarily am I accomplishing? Look at it like, you have to be active 6 days a week. How are you going to do it? So I think you've probably seen this, you guys. I am about 7 weeks into a great 6-month experiment that I'm doing with trainer Corey Rowe. And I'm tracking the objective data points like body fat percentage and weight and my LDL cholesterol and things like that. But it's also an experiment in fitness and strength and power, which I've already seen in 6 weeks, a staggering, impressive result that has surprised even me.
Wow.
But what I've realized, and I'm putting this on my Instagram, I'm going to put it in the next issue of my magazine, by the way, which we're working on right now. So there'll be a lot of content that people can follow along and do part or all of it with us. 6 days a week, I'm training, right? They involve weights and they involve heavy weights, but every movement is a total body movement. And every movement, because it's so hard, is a cardio HIIT movement. I'm in zone 5, which is my maximum anaerobic zone at the end of certain sets with him, because they are full body and they're so hard. So that's a weight resistance workout that has a lot of HIIT cardio in it. it doesn't have endurance cardio. And for that, I get on the treadmill at an incline and I walk for 45 minutes, but it's different. And when you train like that in a smart way that's doing multiple things at the same time, you're going to see results very quickly.
Okay, so Jen, a lot of people don't have access to a trainer. John and I belong to the YMCA, our local YMCA, which I recommend to anybody. You can get a monthly family pass. Our entire family uses it. Okay, so you said 6 days a week, right? With 1 day of rest. I'm somebody that doesn't know how to create a workout. John does. So this question may not be for someone like John, someone that's a little bit more intuitive as to what goes on in the gym. Mm-hmm. Somebody like me that doesn't know really where to start. I know I need it 6 days a week. Like you said, I know I need to lift heavy. I need the anaerobic. I need the flexibility. I need the balance, the yoga, the HIIT. Is there any place I can turn to? Is there a program? Where do I begin?
The good news with the internet and social media or magazines is that there is so much free content out there that people can find what they like. You can go to YouTube. You can go to even someone like me who's been lifting weights since I was in high school.
Wow.
Before I started this 6-month experiment, I would go to the gym and I would scroll through Instagram quickly and under the search key and search like shoulder exercises and all of these free videos. And I would be like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Yeah. So you can do that, or you can do something more formal, or you can just literally start anywhere. And I'm going to tell you, balance. You guys try this, and I'm sure knowing you too, you'll make it into a little competition.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Every morning, brush your teeth standing on one leg.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is engaging your core. And by the way, everyone has a strong leg and a weak leg. So you're going to start to feel like whatever. Okay. And then at night, do the other leg. And that not only works different cerebral hemispheres in terms of the side dominance that we all have. If you really want to get fancy, you can try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand.
Okay, that's complicated. And tapping our head with the other, or rubbing our stomach too at the same time.
But it's a balance, and it's a strength kind of exercise that you can do twice a day for free, right? No instruction required.
Yes.
And then, I'm going to be putting a lot of the exercises that cost zero money, require zero equipment in the next issue of my magazine with Corey, with pictures, because there's been so much interest. But there's access to content everywhere.
Yes,
and I will say that there's, just like anything in the fitness, nutrition, even the menopause world, there's a lot of kind of narrative that everything else you're hearing is wrong. I'm going to tell you the right way. I would encourage people to have an open mind and say, you know what? There's very few things in life where things are that binary, right? Where there's right or wrong. And when it comes to fitness, the only thing that matters is that you do it and that you push your body, because you will not get any kind of a result or improvement or change unless you push your body.
That's good. That's really good.
However you do it might be right for you, might not be right for me. That doesn't mean that your way is wrong. It just means that it's individually kind of distinctive and different.
As we wrap up, and John, you may have another question, but skinny is killing us. And explain to us, and you did, the importance of being strong, but can you just hammer away again why and how skinny is killing us, and that the goal should be strong?
When I see a man who's, over 65 and they're skinny, I don't think skinny, I think frail. And this is a real problem for men, and it's a massive problem for women. And it ultimately has to do with the lack of a gravitational stress on our musculoskeletal frame, which leads to osteopenia and osteoporosis. Yep. But age-related sarcopenia, which is the loss in muscle mass that happens with age, is a universal phenomenon. So if we know about it, again, think of the financial analogy. If you know that a financial stressor like college or a move or something is coming, don't you plan for it? This is no different. So when you think of skinniness for women in particular, first of all, I have a saying that I think is very true, which is skin sagging with age is inevitable. Muscle sagging is not. Like,
Oh, good.
And so I'm 55. My skin is different now than it was 5 and 10 years ago. Okay, it should be. I'm on the planet another 5 or 10 years. But guess what? I'm stronger now than I was 5 years ago. And so that's really what you care about. The other thing that I think never gets enough mention is that, as ominous or kind of potentially morbid as this sounds, it is important to have a little bit of a cushion in terms of body weight in case there's an accident or illness. And women in particular who like to be that super thin, lean, their lowest body weight, all they need is one norovirus, one influenza, one bad illness, let alone something more significant and serious like breast cancer or something, or a car accident. And they're going to lose 10 pounds like that immediately. And not only is that not going to look good because it's okay, but it actually impairs recovery. So I'm not suggesting that we want to walk around with a 10-pound cushion, but a couple of pounds is not a bad idea, especially if it's the right body composition, which is muscle.
That's awesome.
So, it's not, and I think that when you look at popular culture, the aesthetic also has changed now. That super, super skinny look is not even in right now.
It's not.
So I think we can agree. It's not about the skinniness.
And John, you can attest to this. Like our daughter and so many of her friends, Caroline plays volleyball and runs track and field. Like they celebrate strong. On Instagram, they're always, you look so strong. Like they loved watching the Olympics and seeing these strong athletes, not skinny. So it's a culture shift and it's amazing to see.
Right. I mean, those women track runners.
Oh,
yeah.
And let me tell you something. They're not like, have a carrot stick. They're like, let me get my protein in. And they're getting like, they're packing in over 100 grams a day because they are about as strong as it gets.
Yep.
And we should celebrate that athletics and athletes and what they look like. And I know, some of the challenges with menopause that I've even faced with Paula, it's how she starts viewing herself differently and the emotional toll that it has. And I don't know what you would tell somebody like Paula or anybody who's going through menopause. I know there's some proactive things that we talked about, but what can you do from a mental standpoint? Because you start looking at your self-worth and your beauty and things, and it's definitely much more of a female thing. And so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, Paula, but I know you've had some challenges with that just as your body has changed.
I appreciate you asking that, John, and you're not speaking out of turn. You're being a supportive partner, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think that's a really good place to kind of, come full circle with that question, John. And, what I tell people and what I have always told people is that menopause is a privilege reserved for only the women who are living. And, a century ago, women didn't live that long.
That's right.
Right. So they weren't, living to 88, 90 years of age. Now they are. And so just like we celebrated puberty and pregnancy, this is another important stage and milestone, I think, to celebrate, and to do so without anger, without blame, without shame, without, it's just like we're better than that. It's very easy to say, well, society doesn't value women over 50 because they can't reproduce, which, by the way, I believe is correct. I think that statement is 100% on point. Okay, so what? Are we going to now rant and rave and pout and sulk and, stomp our fists about it? No. Get on with things, which is let's think about what we've done, what we've accomplished, what we have to offer, and let's think about our health and well-being in the most positive way. And also, and I know that Paula is going to agree with me on this, as a mother, every single thing that I do, whether it's personal or professional, is done with my 2 children who are now 24 and 26 in mind, that I am teaching them. They are watching me and they are listening to me. And the last thing I want is for either of my children, my son or my daughter, to see an angry, blaming, vengeful, mother who says, why am I going through menopause? No, I want them to see someone who meets this challenge and stage in my life with optimism, with confidence, with curiosity, and says like, okay, bring it on. Like, let's see it. And I think that's the important mental component.
Yeah. That's so good, Jen. That's just like a mindset shift right there. And that's besides the nutrition and the exercise, like I think that might be even more important, how we talk about this, how we treat it, how we go about it with a positive, meeting it head on, proactive. It's inevitable. Let's do this. Let's meet it head on, face on. And by the way, you could totally kick my ass. I'm pretty sure. Like you're so strong. I can't even believe it. John, who would you take in that fight? Me or Jen?
Baby, I got to side with you. You're my. I'm always going to be in your corner.
Smart answer.
Yes,
I love it. Oh, Jen, you are it was such a treat. We have to connect offline. I got to hear about everything that's going on. But real quick, how can people stay in touch with you? You have your magazine, which comes out how many times per year? Your publication?
And now it's coming out twice a year. We'll see if that increases next year. And then on Instagram at Jen Ashton. And then, listen, I'm going to break this news now. No one knows.
Oh, listen in.
There will be a television and podcast coming in 2025.
Wow, that's exciting.
This is awesome. So you know what? If anybody deserves it, the way that you were able to break down complex conversations and complex topics, and I don't want to say dumb it down, but that's essentially what you've been doing. You put it in layman's and laywomen's terms. There's nobody better than you.
Well, listen, we did a lot of live national television together, and I would say your skill right back at you. And I forgot, by the way, and I hope you guys, both of you, signed up for my free weekly newsletter at Join Ajenda, and it's Agenda with a Jen.
Like Dr. Jen.
I like that.
I love it. I love that.
Join Ajenda. And every week it's really the topics of weight management, nutrition, women's health. And I have an added thing about the 6-month experiment in there too that people can follow along. But
so good.
It's been really fun.
Awesome, Jen. Thank you so much.
I love it. I love you guys.
We love you.
Great seeing you again, Jen.
You too.
I'm so glad that we have the male perspective on this whole conversation. John, thank you so much for joining us. And I have heard from a lot of guys who are listening to this. So thank you for being supportive partners and for caring what's going on in our lives. Again, this is like the second most consequential time in our lives in terms of change. So guys, thank you for being supportive partners. And make sure you're signed up for my personal newsletter at paulaferrisofficial.com if you want to win a copy of Dr. Mary Claire Haver's book, The New Menopause. Dr. Haver was our guest weeks 2 and 3 of the series. Okay, it is time for my key takeaways and my pinpoint. This is multifactorial. There's not one magic bullet. As I mentioned earlier, there's not one magic pill. So when it comes to exercise, here's what we have to do. We have to move our body to be strong and not skinny. Again, the pursuit of skinny is killing us. And there are so many options out there. You have to do what's best for you. I love wearing a weighted vest. Dr. Mary Claire Haver is going to encourage you to wear a weighted vest. Buy one that is about 10% of your body weight. I will link to this one in the show notes as well. As Dr. Ashton said, balance, work on your balance, stand on one leg while you're brushing your teeth with your partner. Again, wear that weighted vest. If you don't know where to start, have you guys heard of ChatGPT? Okay, I know I'm a little late to the party, but I opened up ChatGPT, it's an app, and I said, create a month-long workout for a 49-year-old woman who is looking to build muscle mass and bone density. And it literally gave me, for free, a month-long workout. You can find a buddy to work out with, but there's so much content out there to help you get started. But again, be strong, not skinny, stop counting calories. And while we're talking about calories, nutrition, you gotta get that protein in. I know that I weigh 160 pounds. I'm just going to tell you, with the weighted vest, I weigh 166 because it should be 10% of your body weight. But you want to divide your weight by 2.2 and then multiply that by 1.5. So for me, that is about 110 grams of protein per day. That's what I need to strive for. And as Dr. Jen said, you're going to feel like you're eating a lot, but it will fill you up and you want to spread it out 30 grams, 30 grams, 30 grams, really at each meal. And again, that magic number is 30 grams per meal. Stop counting calories. I'm going to give that formula one more time because you're probably like, what did you just throw at me? Divide your weight by 2.2. Whatever that is, multiply it by 1.5. And that is how much protein you should be striving for each day. That's going to help you build that muscle mass and the bone density. Dr. Jen says she's a big fan of leucine. It's the single most important amino acid. But I really want you to think about how you're training for this part of your life. But again, this is multifactorial. So for me, I'm exercising differently. I'm exercising to build muscle mass and to be strong. That includes wearing a weighted vest, going on rigorous walks, lifting, balance, all of that. And I'm getting my protein in. I'm so annoying with the protein talk. I feel like it's all that my friends and I talk about these days is how much protein we're getting in each day. But in conjunction with the nutrition and the exercise, vitamin D. I took a vitamin D test and found that I was very low, which, as Dr. Mary Claire Haver said, most of us are deficient in vitamin D at this point in our lives as well. I am on hormone replacement therapy. I am on an estrogen patch. I am on a progesterone pill. And I'm on some cream. So, but you have to find the right mix for you. And again, you need to find the right doctor at menopause.org. If you can't find a doctor who's menopause trained, make sure you're asking your OB 2 questions. Those 2 questions are, how much training do you have in menopause? And how comfortable are you prescribing hormone replacement therapy? I skipped that whole route. I went right to telehealth and telemedicine. I can't recommend that enough because they are menopause trained OBs in your area. They'll connect you to a doctor in your area, and it's all done online. So if you're busy, like, there's literally no excuse. I love Alloy. I'm going to put a link to Alloy in the show notes, as well as a code to get $25 off. I was talking to an OB on a Tuesday, I believe it was, and I had a treatment plan and on my front door by Friday. So HRT, hormone replacement therapy, is big for me as well. I'm taking Armra for my hair loss. You've also probably seen Roz, my hairpiece, whom I introduced to you in episode 1 of this series. Roz is my good friend. And Roz I wear when I have speaking engagements or fancy events, unlike today. But again, it's multifactorial, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a magic bullet. It's not a pill. But we are in this together. And now we know how to get help. We know that we deserve it. We know it's out there. And I'm going to keep talking about this until we feel better. All right. We deserve to feel better. Coming up next month, hot topics that you have requested me to talk about. We're talking about why women are leaving the workforce, why we should be concerned about record low birth rates, or should we be concerned about record low birth rates in this country, how other countries are supporting families. We're talking politics and sex and how to talk about both with your kids. So yeah, we're going there. We're talking about it because you asked me to. I'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. I know you guys thought you were done with me, but not quite yet. I have one more thing to tell you about. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe to the show. I don't want you to miss a single beat or a single conversation. And remember, my DMs are always open. Tell me what you want to talk about.